us and sharing that insight as a defense expert. Now we move on to our next news. A senior U.S. lawmaker visiting China has raised concerns about the growing risk of military misunderstandings between the two nations amid rapid advances in defense technology. Adam Smith, the top Democrat on the House of Armed Services Committee, has emphasized the need for better communication and basic de-confliction between U.S. and Chinese forces to avoid dangerous encounters at sea and as well as in the air. Let's listen into what he has said.
China understands that now they are such a large military, they need to have more conversations with the other large militaries in the world for basic de-confliction. I mean, we've seen this, with our ships, our planes, their ships, their planes coming entirely too close to one another. We need to have a better conversation about de-conflicting those things. And also, the risk of a misunderstanding of capabilities on one side or the other is great. And I think there needs to be communication about that.
Now for this discussion, we go back to Andrew K.P. Long. He's a China strategist, joins us live from Hong Kong. Thank you very much, Andrew, for staying with us. Now, what are the implications of rising military tensions between U.S. and China as highlighted by Adam Smith?
The two superpowers are now in a very intense phase of rivalry and competition. And because there is a bipartisan consensus in the United States that China is representing an existential threat to American leadership and dominance in the world. And so they're pushing back against China on all fronts, ideologically, technologically, economically, and trade and tariffs, and also diplomatically and geopolitically. Everything, including the military. And as China is now showcasing its military hardware in the recent Beijing parade, highlighting the latest sixth-generation fighter jets and hypersonic intercontinental missiles with multi-navigable warheads that can circumnavigate the group. And also high precision aircraft killer missiles and so on, and which can threaten American assets in the Asia Pacific. So I think that the United States is beginning to feel there is a high time to reach some sort of understanding, to avoid any kind of miscalculations on either side that could escalate into an unwanted consequences or unforeseen and controllable consequences on both sides.
And Andrew, how do you think, how effective could this improved communication measures be in preventing such conflict?
Well, the guardrails are necessary from military to military, and in fact the guardrails were already established months ago by developing a direct dialogue with the military highest military commanders on either side. But it's not just the military, because the military maneuvers are all dictated by the highest level, the leaders in both countries, and also is dictated by a deep-seated suspicion and misunderstanding between the peoples on either side. I think the biggest misunderstanding in the United States, and for that matter, a large part of the world, is somehow Beijing militarily, economically, and so on, and change the world order. This is far from the case, because China has been benefiting hugely from the American-led rule-based order since the end of the Second World War. It's just that as China grows, necessarily, as country grows, its influence increases, and that is representing a threat. And of course, the United States sees that instead of producing T-shirts and Nike shoes, China is now eating Americans' lunch in high technology. Well, this is understandable, as China is now transiting towards a high manufacturing, quality manufacturing, a high-tech country. And that necessarily there will be confrontations. But I think that it's necessary for the people on both sides to understand each other. I think there's more room for Chinese policymakers and Chinese people to understand the American national psyche, their treasure of their values and so on, and also the internal politics in the United States. And likewise, it would pay huge dividends for American people and their politicians to see what China it really is, and to walk away from this misguided mantra that somehow the Chinese Communist Party is illegitimate. And if you look at the Harvard Kennedy School recent studies, and recent studies based in New York-based Edelman Trust Barometer, they all highlight the fact that the reality that the Chinese government is the best trusted government by its people compared with many countries around the world, including many democracies, because they have delivered what counts. Democracy, elections is only a process. At the end of the day, it's the outcome. The outcome is the livelihoods of the people, regardless of the ideology. To what extent the people have benefited. And then on that count, the Chinese Communist Party governance in recent years has very little comparison, according to as I said, Harvard Kennedy School Studies, New York-based Edelman Trust Barometer, and also the Paris-based Ipsos Center, IPSOS. They all confirm that the Chinese people's government in recent years has been very successful in winning the trust of their people, and that's legitimacy. So I think that it needs the people on both sides to understand each other better, and in that context, the visit of the American lawmakers is very timely.
Right. Andrew, thank you very much for always joining us and sharing that insight. Now we move on to our next